Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to be with you here together, and I welcome you for the second forum Salt&Light in Davos 2025. Especially welcome to Marc, Jost. Thank you very much that you take the time to be with us together. And of course, I extend my welcome to the audience and also the audience in the stream. Welcome to all of you. My name is Marcus Reichenbach, and I work in the University of the Nation, and I have the privilege to host you today. We operate here under the Salt&Light, reflecting our Christian mandate to be a positive influence in the world. And so it's the name Salt of Light, that's from the Bible, and we want to have an influence. Now I would like to introduce to you Marc Jost. So Mr. Jost is Swiss, he's married and have 4 children. He's trained as a teacher and theologian, served as a pastor for 7 years. He served as the Speaker of the State Parliament in the Canton of Bern and is currently a member of the Swiss Parliament. He has significantly shaped the Christian landscape in Switzerland through his influence roles and dedicated service. So thank you so much, Marc, that you are here with us today. And now I want to give you the microphone that you probably can tell us a bit about what you are doing and what your role is also here in Davos. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcus, for the invitation. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be with you this morning and share some of my experiences as a Christian, as a politician, and here in Davos. Let me tell you that sometimes people have plans, but God has a different perspective for the life. So coming as a member of parliament in Switzerland to Davos has not been my plan for many years of my life. I'm now 50. And as you mentioned, Marcus, I started as a teacher and a pastor, and I had the idea and the vision to go together with my wife into another continent to serve with our gifts. So that's why we did a 1-year stay in South America, where we assisted in a theological seminary. And that's where we realized, okay, there are huge differences in the world. As young people from Switzerland, we know our little country, our beautiful little country with the mountains, with the chocolate, with the cheese, and of course with prosperity, security. And so for us it was very important to see the world is very diverse, and even especially in Latin America we experienced for the first time what it means to live in extreme poverty, live in violence, and realize, okay, social responsibility and to care for our neighbor got a totally new perspective for us. So this was the key experience for me to then ask God if I should go into politics. And some months later, I was then asked by a Swiss MP if I would work for him. And that's how I got involved in this whole political work. This is now more than 20 years back. And since 2 years, I'm now a member of the Swiss Federal Parliament. And as MPs, we are invited to the forum here. And I see this as an opportunity on several levels. On one hand, of course, it's helpful for the parliamentary work to have the relationships internationally with business, but colleagues from other countries, from governments, and that's how we make use of this time. And on the same, I always pray to God that He leads me to the right persons in the right moments to have those special moments as well. And so I always have time that is not planned, and it's always the case that you have those conversations that you realize, okay, this is led by God, and then it's a very personal and divine interaction.
So, Marc, would you say you ask the question, should I serve God or should I serve politics? And then you find out, okay, I can serve God in politics. Is this what would fit to you?
When I was in theological college, I was already convinced that serving in politics is can be part of a Christian's ministry. But I didn't think that this would be for me. I saw myself so far not in this role. But more and more I realized, yes, it could be my ministry and serving there, even when I thought before serving as a pastor or as a theological teacher would be my calling. And now I realize, no, in politics, I can bring many gifts together. On one hand, I'm always open for personal conversations about faith, about daily issues as well. And I appreciate all these conversations with my colleagues. And on the other hand, I see myself as a political bridge builder between the different positions, and to bring in Christian values that had a huge impact in history on Swiss political systems. I'm convinced, and share about this and try to explain the history back from Reformation to now, what we have as a heritage, as a little country in Switzerland, still referring to many good Christian values and commitments.
So you would not say, also my feeling is more that often Christians have a negative view of politicians in positions, and when it's go about power and money, and even the WEF, some Christians have a negative view about the WEF, and so how you deal with that, how you make this compromise with your faith and seeing that often it's just about power and money. So how do you do that?
Yes, I think the temptations of what you are talking about, especially power and influence, and in this context, to stay yourself as a Christian with your ethics and your values is a challenge. It starts with the question, how can you get involved? You have to promote yourself, and that's kind of strange for a Christian when you say, okay, humility, transparency, to be honest, and with this value, doing a campaign for yourself. Please vote for me. I can make a better Switzerland or a better world. That was a kind of a strange experience for me. But then more and more I realized, okay, you can do this, and it's true for many other domains as well, in business, in media, but even in church ministry. You have the temptations to compromise with your values, with your convictions, with your faith. But maybe in politics you are very much exposed, and you have to decide on any issue, and you have to bring your position, and sometimes you even have your position already, but you are asked, and you need to react, and I think this is a big challenge. And so for me it's very important to have my friends from the church, my pastor, but colleagues, where I have regular meetings with them about how my soul and my person is doing in this context. So this is a very important part to stay healthy as a Christian believer in this context. And then we really can take responsibility. And maybe another temptation. Sometimes, or all around the world, there are people who say this is the Christian position on this issue. And I think this is another temptation. In some cases, maybe it's pretty obvious what would be a good position out of Christian ethics and take a stand for it. But in many situations, it's very hard to find out, okay, what would Jesus do? What is now the right thing to deal with this? And this is a challenge that I see like a challenge for every Christian in his daily life. Now, it's to find out you and I, we are asked to take decisions every day on our career, on our interaction with other people. And I think in politics, like in daily life, it is good to have a community, a Christian community, that is allowed to ask you questions and to ask you critical questions. And I want to stay open on issues. And if there is a Christian brother or sister from the far right, far left, and talking to me about a delicate issue, about migration or whatever, I want to stay open and to listen and to try to find out, okay, let's challenge each other to become better in trying to find out what is really our part now as Christians.
So that's good what you said, Orn. It's have you an example of where people were critical to you, Christians were critical to you, and you have to defend yourself, or how do you deal with that when brothers say, yeah, that's not good what you're doing, or be critical, and you say you are somebody who make compromises, or it's just about money. I don't know what they say to you. So how do you go with that, or how do you deal with it?
Yes. So last year we had a very tough debate in Parliament about the budget because the majority in Parliament wanted to spend more money for the army in this context that we are. But we had to compensate this in another part of the budget. So we had to try to find out how can we make it possible to spend more money for the army. Where would we then cut in the budget? And so the situation was that there was a proposal to cut in the International Development Corporation, and this is one of my core issues where I'm invested with many Christian NGOs that are serving around the globe, and even partnering with Swiss government to work for the poor and help to develop in countries agricultural health programs and so on. So it was asked to have a big cut of 250 million Swiss francs per year. And now then there was the debate, and I was opposing this cut, and spoke in Parliament against it. And my friend and Christian believer and brother in Christ had the opposite position. So and in the same debate we were there. So this is very challenging, and on one hand it's good to accept this. And not to think now, because we have different opinions, something has to be wrong with your faith. But I think it's also an opportunity to then sit together and have a coffee and to go deeper. Why did you come to this conclusion? And to see, okay, we come from pretty different contexts, and sometimes your biography, your family, and your social context, it has much more influence on your decisions as your Christian faith. And so I always challenge people, do you decide like this because of your experience in your profession, in your context, or is it really that you thought about your faith and what would then bring your faith as a decision in this matter? So that's an example for. Yeah.
Oh, good. So do you have values that you say that's absolutes and I will not go over them, whatever it's happened, or how is it, or what would be these values?
I was just thinking if you have values, should they not be absolute anyway? But sometimes maybe several values are in competition. I mean, there are many Christian values I see as very high in my life, but it's very hard to translate them then into the actions. And so, of course, justice is a core value. Of course, humility is a core value, but maybe not typical in the political sphere. But the more and more I realize that it's very helpful to always stay in this humility, because this temptation of now I'm having power and impact is really a temptation to see you too important. And I wouldn't say humility is an absolute value, but it's one that I think we politicians need to remind it more often than others. Of course, truth is a very important value, and it's our goal to be as close to the truth as possible. But in our world today, it's a very hard issue to be there. Maybe you ask for more specific values, then I can bring some examples how to deal it in a specific question that is in Parliament, and then I try to see, okay, we have this value and this value, and what would now be the action or decision on this matter.
Also, have you an example where you get angry about other people who not stay to their values, or you think no, or how do you deal to that, or are you more these real politics, focus on real politics that everyone can believe what he wants according to his values or so, or are you thinking, no, I want to shape that, I want to help that others probably also can change their values? So how is it with that?
I get angry when I realize that the motivation of a colleague in politics is not really the common good and the people we are serving, but the motivation is to be in media, to win the next election, to have his party well positioned. And I think this is the biggest temptation in politics, that this motivation is corrupted. And so of course we need to have good media coverage. Of course we want to win an election, but my core motivation is to serve the people for the common good, and I do it motivated by my Christian faith and by these values. And to stay with this motivation is not an easy thing. and I get really angry when I see. Sometimes it's obvious. And it's then obvious when you know your colleague has a position, but he is not acting for it. He changes, he switches to the other side just because he could win the election. And I think this is very bad for our society.
And so you get angry about yourself because you switched your values, or you get under pressure that you did it?
If I did, I would get angry, and sometimes I'm, let's say, I'm in need, because I know this would be the right thing, but okay, sometimes you can decide and not communicate a lot. So, and that, I think this is, for a politician, this is a good manner to do it. You need to decide, you need to position yourself, but the communication about it is, you can actively communicate and promote it, or you can just decide it, and often it's not even covered by media. So, but when it comes, for example, to Middle East, Israel, Palestine, and then you think, okay, this would be now the right decision in this case, then you have to be courageous and to stand for it, and maybe explain to brothers and sisters, okay, I saw it differently because of this and that. But that's challenging, and sometimes I'm in trouble, yes.
So do you think that you can win elections without manipulation? I mean, thinking about Donald Trump, if you don't have money, if you don't have social media behind you, do we really vote for someone because of value or because of the person, or is it more that really people get manipulated through the social media, the posters and television, and I don't know? And as a Christian, I mean, can you become a member of the parliament without using all these manipulation tools, or how do you deal with that?
Of course, I think it's possible to be there without manipulation, because manipulation, I understand as, I want to have a different, I want to give a different impression than the truth. So, okay, people maybe misunderstand some of your communications. That's possible, but for me, this is not manipulation. So, of course it is. And I think people do not want to be manipulated. And often maybe we don't realize that it's the case. But I think it's really possible. But it's a huge danger. The more money in it, the more the risk for being manipulated. And of course the technological possibilities become bigger and bigger as well. So there's a big threat for our democracy.
Okay, thank you. So I coming to the last question. Before then, you can ask the question to Mr. Marc. Jost, so what advice would you give to the next generation of Christians, leaders striving to integrity, their faith, in their work, and having influence? So what kind of advice would you give to us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe you have your plans already, your idea, or you're very open. My advice would be, do planning, have your plan, but be very open for God's intervention, and maybe He has a different plan. Being open, and then I think the Bible is, for me, very important, and to be combined in the Christian community, in the church. And so talk about your future, what you think God would lead you through with your colleagues, with your brothers and sisters in faith, and try to let them challenge you in all your decisions. I think the Christian community is a very important group in this time to because often we are manipulated that we think, oh, God told me this, or I should do this, and then it's very important to have a community, and we pray and ask the Lord together. I think this is in our time a very important factor, to have community among Christians.
So when you say that, so your community would say that support you is the church that you go to, or is this a prayer group, or are you colleagues in the parliament, or your fraction, or
all of it,
or party? So what is where you get your strengths for your faith and for your work?
So in our church, of course, it's encouraging Sunday morning services, but we have a small group, and this is like the core group. And then I have a group of 3-4 men, Christian. I'm in conversation regularly, and in this role I have even several prayer groups that go along, and this is very helpful. So I share my prayer issues with them every week. So I think it could be the church, could be colleagues in at work, and or a discipleship training school, or any school context. I think that the most important thing is that you have a continuity, a regularity, and that you don't flee the Christian community, that you don't isolate, but that you put yourself and let yourself be asked and questioned.
Thank you very much. And now the microphone is open for you, that you can ask some questions to Mr. Jost, and so please feel free.
Thank you. My name is George. I come from Kenya, and I'm a student. My first question is, now that you are a Christian and you are doing in the political class, what are the things that maybe you feel, is it important for the church or the Christian community to be in those positions so that they can influence some decisions that are made in the world or global, or it's just okay, like the church to continue its own things and the state maybe to decide on stuff? And how is your experience on that? Like, it's a time that the church needs to go back and also influence the global in terms of those decisions. And the last question is, are we the current situation we're in the world, how are we facing these challenges? Do you see a brighter future, or is it so much into like other issues of the world are really affecting the when I say like maybe the issues of lesbianism, gays and all that stuff, or maybe other world agendas that is different from Christianity? So those are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. So let me start with the Swiss context. For many decades, the Christian faith and the political debate were very close. So it was integrated, but the secularization had a strong impact on Switzerland. So faith and religion became more and more taboo. We didn't talk about it when in our daily life at work, but also in politics. And the knowledge about religion and faith is very small. So I think it's very important to take it out of this taboo and to talk about faith again in public, in politics, but at the workplace, in schools, just to become competent again to talk about faith and to then share about faith and to have this conversation. So I think to be as Christian in politics can bring faith into the public sphere again, and then debate what faith do we have and what serves our society. And so I think this is here more needed than ever. Maybe in your country it's a different situation. And at the other hand, there is this risk of instrumentalization of the faith, like we see it in the US, for example, that you then say, okay, that's God's opinion, he put me in this mission and now I do this, and that's the way it is. And that's very dangerous for the faith, because the credibility then of us Christians is disappearing. So in this tension of being there, talking about it, and at the same time not giving a wrong impression and instrumentalize the faith to manipulate the people, that's the context. And the second question, about how I see the future. What we sometimes forget is that the world in many aspects is becoming a better place to live. Of course, we have many conflicts and crises, and some technological developments make us. There is a fear of, can we deal with all of this? But on the other hand, many countries in the world suffer less poverty, have a development of education, of a better health system, and the facts there are quite impressive. What could be done in the last 20 years. So I think it's always important to not only have this emotional and tragical events through media before our eyes, but to dive deeper and to do research. What is the real state of the world? And where can I make a difference as a Christian in bringing more of this blessing? And we know it always will be let's say a fight of evil and good until Jesus is coming back. And so let's continue our work and serve in this world, whatever the state of the world is, but keep in mind we can make a difference.
Okay, Benjamin.
Hello, I'm Benjamin from Australia. I was just wondering, so as a Christian politician, how do you market yourself? Because I imagine, like, for example, in the Australian context, being a Christian won't necessarily lose you any votes, but it won't necessarily gain you any either. So it's like, do you market yourself like on the stage of like social reforms, I don't know, environmental issues, welfare or something like that? How do you appeal to a broad cross-section of voters?
Thank you. Not all the Christians would do it the same way. So we have several Christian parties. I can just give you my example, like I do it, and what are the challenges we face. So the name of my party is Evangelical People's Party. So the name itself is a message that can be misunderstood. In German, Swiss German, we have a different word. So maybe depends on where you are. The name of the party has a different message. But there are already now debates in our party. Should we have a different wording in our party name. There are debates around this because people think evangelical maybe is not the best marketing tool for being elected. Anyway, another party changed the name and took out Christian. I would see this critically. I promote myself as a Christian in politics with an evangelical faith. And we do marketing at the moment with, we stand for the family, we stand for the environment, and we take social responsibility and are fighting for strong institutions and democracy. So that's how we try to position ourselves. This has to do because our conviction that healthy families bring a strong society. So it's a key factor to have a healthy society, to have healthy families. That's why we focus on family. The environment and climate is, we think we have a responsibility to take care of the creation because it's the place where we are living, and we have to take responsibility, and that's why we put this. And the third, we now focus on strong democracy and institutions because of the actual situation. We think that even the church and Christians have maybe a kind of wrong perception or wrong view of the institutions. There are a lot of debates about UN and international organizations and how they could take over control and have a bad influence on human society. And I think it's very important to see the value of international institutions, international organizations, but also of national institutions like a court, like the administration itself. And so we think it's important to build trust for these institutions again. So that's one part we promote as well. And we're a small party. We're a very small party, but we are there for more than 100 years, and I hope to stay for more years. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So let us take the last question before we end here. So take this opportunity, Balsam.
Hello, my name is Balsam and I'm from Madagascar. Can I have two questions? My first question is, what is your strategy? For example, you said you build trust, or you stand for the family, for the environment. What is your strategy for that?
Thank you very much, Balsam.
The second question as well.
Maybe after here.
Okay. Yes. Please.
So to build trust, my strategy would be to act in a way that people can count on you. So I don't make promises to my colleagues that I would not hold, or not able, that I know that I won't be able to hold. I try to be honest with my colleagues, and try to work with as many colleagues as possible on the issues we agree. And if you act like this, people trust and come to you and bring the issues. They know we have a common view, and they know that you will support it because of the cause and not because we are friends or because we do money. So maybe this. Maybe two examples. The family in Switzerland, there is children's money that a family gets if you have children, there is a specific amount of money you get every month, paid by the company where you are hired. So I asked to raise this money per child because of the context. Health system is getting more expensive. Products are getting more expensive. Energy is getting more expensive. So I asked to raise this money per child to have then a better situation for the family. And now the committees accepted it. Now it's the government who needs to decide on it. And I talked to the minister here at WEF about it. So it could be possible that he's fighting for it. Climate and environment. After COP29, there was a big disappointment that it's only a low amount of money that would be spent for those countries most affected. I handed in a bill in Switzerland to have a new law that would define some minimum standards and money to help those countries affected by climate change. So that's one example how I try to work on this issue, to take responsibility for those countries whose existence will disappear in a few years. Yeah, so that's one example.
Okay, do you have a short second question? Please.
Thank you. My second question is, do you have a message for the youth in my country that are kind of hopeless because we don't really believe anymore that we can really make a difference in politics because it is so much corrupted. There is a lot of bad things going on and we don't know how to have more influence or to get into that. So what message can you give?
Thank you.
Small steps matter. That would be my message. Keep in mind that what Jesus said when the widow put a very small amount of money at the synagogue. He said she did more than many rich people do. And I think it's the same. So try to find a small group of people who want to make a difference and let you lead by the Lord. And out of a small step can become a big movement. And I think this is possible. I believe it.
Yes, so thank you very much, Marc. It was really inspiring and you said a lot that we can think about. So it was really good to listen to you. It was a blessing to see how you act as a politician in this high position, make compromises or being there. It's not so easy. And I hope it was inspiring for all of you. So thank you very much as well, all of you who attended the meeting, as well the one on the stream. It was a great time. And so I wish you a wonderful day. So our next forum, our third forum, we will have on 9 o'clock with Dr. Benjamin Moses. He is leader of the Global Leadership in Geneva. Okay, thank you very much, and I wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.